to shaping our world and bring us up to date with what is happening in Nigeria, especially issues that are of common interest to us. My name is Idriss Deby. Thank you for taking the time to join us on the program today, and thank God it's another Friday. No, we're still on Chad. The political tensions in the Republic of Chad is yet to abate. The situation persists with violent opposition protests across the country. The protesters are demanding an immediate transmission of power to civilian government, while the rebel forces continue to threaten the peace of the Central African country. Problems started when news about the death of the late president Idriss Deby filtered into town that he was killed by rebel forces when they led troops to the battlegrounds few hours after he was declared winner of the April 11 elections. The announcement of his death shattered the political fortune of the country, as all the democratic structures were dismantled and replaced with the military council, which will be in charge for the next 18 months. The military council is led by the late president's 37-year-old son, Muhammad Idriss Deby. We told you last week that Chad is not only one of the poorest economies in Africa, it is contending with a rebel force known as the Front for Change and Concord. They are threatening to take over the capital in Jebena. However, the security forces believe, the U.S. security forces believe the rebels fighting against Deby and probably responsible for his death are not terrorists, but they are freedom fighters.
What do you know currently about the situation in Chad?
As I walked in here this morning, we learned about the reported and confirmed death of President Deby. He's a retired general, and he has in the past gone to the front where there was action, and we don't know exactly how he got killed, but the report is he was killed in action up there, facing off with a column of rebels that are not terrorists, they're not ISIS, they're not Al-Qaeda. They were actually anti-regime in Chad. They were based in southern Libya. They mounted up in several hundred vehicles, and they transited a long way across the Chadian desert towards the south. The Chadian government forces started engaging them. They were supported by the French. We observed this, and then it looked like that the column had made the decision to withdraw. This has happened before. They were about to withdraw, we think, and then the news of the President Deby's death became known. It's unclear what this means for our relationship there. His son, President Deby's son, former Intel chief, has been appointed as the interim president. We expect that he is inclined towards good relationships with France and the United States. We think that will continue. There could be some potential for violence, and we are working closely with our country team there. Our embassy did a precautionary drawdown of personnel to a minimum staff, and we also have some military folks there working with the French and the embassy. So we're watching this very closely to keep Americans safe while this becomes a little more clear.
All right, U.S. General Counsel speaking about the situation in Chad and the situation, or his description and analysis of the rebels in Chad. He just said that they are not terrorists, they are not ISIS, they are not Al-Qaeda, they're just freedom fighters, they are anti-government, probably responsible for his death and are fighting for a regime change. Notwithstanding the death of Idriss Deby, which has stirred concerns over the debilitating security situation in the Lake Chad region. And this is because Deby is seen by the West as an important ally in the fight against Islamist extremist groups in West Africa and the Sahel region. Nigeria's battle against the Boko Haram insurgents for over a decade is perceived to have received a boost with the intervention of late Chadian leader who had expressed concerns over the inactivity of the multinational joint task force. Late Deby led the Chadian troops to launch an offensive against insurgents in the Goji Chadian area of Sambisa forest, where he captured one of the largest Boko Haram armories. The country's volatile political and security atmosphere is largely viewed as a threat to the security of the Lake Chad region and the Nigerian state. The opposition groups are not only provoked by the nomination of his son, but even more unsettled by the nomination of Albert Pahim. Bahimin, the Prime Minister of a transitional government, nominated and put in place by the Military Council. On the program today, we shall continue to look at the wider security implication for Nigeria as the political future of Chad, a volatile and war-torn country, remains uncertain. What are the possible diplomatic interventions to quell the growing tension in a country central to the security of the Lake Chad region and indeed Nigeria? In the studio with us this afternoon, he is a Chadian and he is a political activist who has been involved in a whole lot of political campaign for proper democracy in Chad. Joining us on the program, Ibrahim Zain, and we'll be coming on the show just after this break with my guest Ibrahim Zain, a Chadian from Chad, on the program today. It's going to be interesting. The world has become more connected than ever before. Every continent, color, race, language, and religion, even government, move towards common goals. We now live in a global village. Here on this program, we bring you global issues to shape our world.
Government can do a lot with tax revenues collected for health and education.
The role of the European Union is to accompany a partner, that is Nigeria, in offering our lessons learned to see whether together we can improve that situation.
The emphasis on education, on vocational training, on the development of entrepreneurship is absolutely critical to its democracy.
The Nigerian government, we would ask them to follow up the investigations that we have had, the evidence that we have gathered, and ultimately we made a number of recommendations.
As we travel the world, we explore these issues of international and diplomatic relevance. Indeed, the global agenda that determine our national and common interests. With me, Tunde Alabi, live on the IT. Time to join us on the program today. The program is still Global Matters, where we'll bring you global issues also shape our common interests in Africa and indeed in Nigeria. Joining me on the program today to look at the developing institutions and in Chad is Ibrahim Zain. Ibrahim Zain is a political activist, is a Chadian, and he's been involved in a lot of political activism, bringing about proper democracy in Chad. Zain, thank you for taking the time to join us on the program today. We're glad to have you join us. Thanks you so much for having me. Trust your trip was not troublesome at all. All right, let's quickly, because we're very short time, take us through the process leading to the death of the former President Deby.
Prior to that, the dictator, Chadian ex-dictator Idriss Deby, who came to the power in 1919 through armed rebellion, one of the longest serving dictators across Africa, as whole world. Deby had been ruling this nation with iron fist. No political freedom, no freedom of expression, no. All sorts of civil rights are being seized throughout this period. Many of his cabinet members have defected. Senior generals within the army have defected due to the wrongful use of power. This is not for the first time. Throughout these 3 decades, the opposition have been there. No peaceful opposition have been left. So senior officers in the military, the only option had, they have to take arms to unseat him. For
those military officers, they are defectors basically. Are they rebel terrorists? Of course, we've heard the U.S. general describing them as people who are fighting for a regime change. But Deby has always described them, the late Deby described them as terrorists, people who are not interested in the growth and development of the country.
Absolutely.
That appears not to be the same view of the international community like the United States, just the way
absolutely. United Nations, the US, European Union, France as a colonial power, none of them had described the opposition as terrorist group, because actually the nationalistic movements consist of all Chadians from all walks of life, from all religion, from all ethnic groups. Patriotic, they are just fighting Deby for his misgovernance. Deby had come with first great corruption, monstrous dictatorship, monstrous injustice, social divisive. So the country became no more country again. As I'm telling you, at this moment, still communal clashes are there. Throughout the 3 decades, people have been fighting. He has been foiling all those crises for instability, poverty, unemployment, insecurity within the nation. All those sorts are there.
What did his death actually mean for Chad now, notwithstanding the fact that we have his son in charge now, and the fact that the son was proclaimed as a military leader actually heralded a protest that's led to the death of 1 or 2 people in Chad? What, moving forward, where does Chad stand now?
At the moment, Chad is in a very precarious situation, to a very gloomy future. We would like to save our nation. We don't want Chad to fail, to be another Libya. Moreover, we are neighbors. We urged, we call international community, world powers, our regional powers, international powers, to come in and support and help for the stability. Deby and his son, both are illegitimate entities. None of them have been voted by Chadians. None of them was constitutional. He had been there for 3 decades, passed away in the battleground. There is a constitution. Constitution says the president of the National Assembly to take over.
Upon the death of the president?
Exactly. From 45 days to 90 days. Transitional government to organize free and fair election. Whoever had been voted by Chadians should take over as Chadian legitimate president. Overnight, he died. A military council. We did not have a military council before. Came from nowhere. They hijacked the powers. They appointed his own son. So, Chadians have been calling, let us go back to our constitution.
Few days ago, General, the late president's son made a nationwide broadcast appealing to the nation, asking for calmness, begging them that he will, it's just a transitional period, that what he needed to do was to stabilize the country, and the country should give him time. Shouldn't the country actually give him time? And let's see what he could do to change the story of Chad.
In fact, he has no reason to beg. He has no reason to talk. Very simple demand of the Chadian. In diaspora, within, protests are coming up. Just they are demanding for a step down. There is a constitution. Let us act based on our constitution. President of the National Assembly should take over as a transitional government.
Is he still in the country, the former president? We understand that the president of the National Assembly actually was sacked, and upon that he left the country.
He is still in the country, but all the powers have been seized. The cabinet has been dissolved. National Assembly are not functioning anymore. So just military junta in charge.
Well, now, the former president Idriss had very good relationship with key international nations, the US, especially France. In fact, France supported his government because of his fight against terrorism and other Islamic people who are involved in, I don't know, well, let's just call them terrorists who are fighting against the country.
Terrorism.
Where does France stand now? Is Mahamat still getting the support of France? We just heard about the US saying, even though Mahamat may have come to power, that may not necessarily mean there will be peace in town. But Mahamat appears to be very friendly towards the US and France. Will he continue to get the support of France? Will Chad continue to get the support of France? Will France continue to support Mahamat in his reign as military head of state?
I would like to be brutally honest in this point regarding France's interference in Chadian politics and general affairs. France was the former colonial power, but we realize we are still under the French occupation, honestly speaking. So France has no business and reason to come in who will be there and who shouldn't be there. Yes, as a world power, as a friendly nation, so much welcome. But Chad should decide who to rule Chad, not France. Deby have been there in power all throughout this period with the help of France. And we all know France has vested interest, which is contrary to Chadian interest within this while. The issue of fighting the terrorism and the armed groups within the Sahel region, Deby has been there decades before the advent of those crises. And France has given ultimate support and backing the wrongful regime of Idriss Deby. Yes, by 2011, if I could remember, where Mali crisis had come, Deby has intervened. This is just a point. Not Deby, whoever is there will take a similar stand. Let Deby has gone. Still, whoever is coming to the authority of or the power of Chad definitely will stand in that position, contributing to the peace of the region. Will fight against the terrorism.
People like you in Chad, the majority of the people in Chad, what are you asking for? What is your demand?
Very simple. Military should go back to the barrack. Allow the constitution to play its role. We need civilian system. We need civilian government. Transitional government should be civilian, will organize free and fair election. Whoever had been voted by Chadian should be our leader, and we are behind that person.
Right. Considering the unique position of Chad in the region, what does the continued instability in Chad mean for the region, especially for Nigeria?
Let's take the region as a whole. Chad is the center and the heart of Africa.
Yeah.
Has a very peculiar and strategic position. We shouldn't forget, the region is boiling and is very volatile. At the northern border of Chad, there's a Libya.
Yes.
Where is balkanized country. The international community contributing to coming back to stand. We wish the betterment for our neighbor. The eastern part, Darfur, where the place is no man's land, security is totally absent. Little next, Central African Republic, similar. So Chad now, Lake Chad Basin, the southeast and so southwest of Chad, where is became den of criminal group of Boko Haram, destabilizing the entire continent and sub-region. So the failure of Chad absolutely will affect the entire continent, not sub-region alone. We urge international community, our neighboring countries, most especially Nigeria. Nigeria, the elder sister in Africa, we look up to Nigeria. Chad has demanded a lot from Nigeria. Nigeria has a lot of moral obligation to contribute into the peace and stability of this country. The moment failure of Chad definitely will make the whole region volatile, under the control of armed groups, bandit, criminals, terrorists, definitely from Libya to Chad to Lake Chad Basin.
Back to Nigeria.
Absolutely. We pray shouldn't happen that. Fortunately, African Union yesterday, Commission of Peace and Security in African Union, they are in N'Djamena, they are asking the military junta to step down and to give the chance for the legitimate civilian government. Equally, we are grateful to our sister nation of Ghana. Ghanaian government even requested African Union, if the military junta are not stepping down, they should suspend it from their membership from African Union. We wish to see such decisive decision from Nigeria as a neighbor. We don't want a situation where we are all in the same boat of fairness. We are afraid. Insecurity are everywhere. Things are out of control. We don't want to reach to that stage. Very simple, very easy. This military junta is illegitimate entity. Should step down. They have no single reason.
Chad has always been a very volatile, unstable country, even before late Deby.
Absolutely.
What assurance do we have that even if we do have a new government, a civilian government, anything will change?
The injustice Chadian people have suffered for the last 3 decades, the nepotism, the tribalism, the social division, the dictatorship, totalitarian regime, actually had given lesson to Chad, had given lesson to the Chadians. See the protesters facing with their bare arms, facing bullets from all walks of life, from all their differences.
We had the same protest in Egypt some time ago. We had the same protest across a couple of other African countries, in Tunisia. But at the end of the day, nothing seems to have changed when they had new government. See what is happening in Egypt now. See what's going on in Tunisia. Arab Spring across a key part of the Arab nation in Africa. But nothing has changed. How are we sure that if a new government under a civilian rule comes into power, anything will change from what is currently happening in Chad?
For those challenges, to tackle them, we need a synergy. Chadians work from within Chad, how to stabilize Chad, to bring the stability and the peace. International community and the friendly nations to support the Chadian people, how to bring the peace together. At this situation where we are, things still could be arrested. It's very much possible to tackle all those problems. But the moment we get the failure, after that, I doubt much if anyone.
We are running out of time, but I need you to look straight into the camera and tell the Nigerian government what support are you asking for from this government?
Nigeria, as an elder sister and neighbor, Nigeria had contributed a lot to the continent, to the region, most especially to Chad. Back to 1979, where there were crises, fighting for the power, tussling of power within rival groups. Nigerian government in 1979, April to March, March to April, invited the group leaders to Lagos. By then, brought the agreement. There was another second meeting, was in Kano in August 1979. The little peace we are enjoying in Chad today, it was a result of contribution of Nigerian government. We are grateful. What happened with the contribution of Nigeria 40 years back? Still we are reaping the fruit of that intervention. We need today again. Our situation today is more precarious than then. By then we had the instability only within Chad. But today, Chad is surrounded by unstable areas. Nigerian government, African Union, international communities, they should support Chadian people, not the military junta.
All right, thank you so much, Ibrahim Zain, a Chadian activist, political activist, joining us on the program today to speak about the situation in Chad. I'm afraid this is how far we can go. While we'll continue to pray for peace in Chad. Of course, the peace in Chad will ultimately result in peace in Nigeria. We wish you very well and safe trip back to Germany. And thank you for taking the time to join us on the program today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a great pleasure to have you join us on the program today. My sincere appreciation to the entire team that has made today's program possible. It's weekend and keep safe. Enjoy the rest of your week.
IT, sharing the African experience.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.